All right, call to order this August 2021 meeting of the Summit Waller Community Association. And we'll start with meeting minutes for our July 6th meeting. Does anybody have any comments, anything to add, anything to edit? Do we have a motion
So move.
and a second?
I second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes from our July 6th meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Yeah, get the hand down, Larry. Okay, our meeting minutes from July are adopted. Okay, since our treasurer isn't here, we'll move on to the webmaster report. Gabe, anything to share with us?
This month, again, like the last few, has been relatively slow, just keeping up with Facebook, which has mellowed out a little bit. Our viewership on the website is up just a hair. It's not a huge amount, but it's up a little bit, which is good to see. We're still less than a quarter on the website and just web views versus the number of people we have in the Facebook group. So Facebook still continues to be the way we get most things across.
Yeah. Do we still have people looking at what's being put up on YouTube?
I haven't even looked at that.
Okay.
I haven't checked that out since the last time I reported.
Okay. All right, and on to current business. One thing I guess we need to do again is the Mid-County Community Center donation of $600.
Yeah, I would like to point out that I looked over the June agenda. I reviewed part of the June Zoom meeting on YouTube, and I brought up during the treasurer's report that we needed to vote on $600 for the Mid-County Community Center, which you, Bob, bounced down to the bottom of the agenda, and we got to everything in the other category except voting for the $600. So
Oops.
we need to do that right now.
Well, would you like to make a motion then?
I move that the Summit Waller Community Association contribute $600 to the Mid-County Community Center.
And second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we contribute $600 to the Mid-County Community Center. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Now, Russell did provide the 2 months that we needed June and July. The 2 months of the treasurer's report. I don't see any reason why we can't go ahead and approve those.
Okay.
Even though they're not here.
Yeah, they look fine. So again, we need a motion.
So
I move that we. Go ahead, Gabe.
I was going to say, I move that we adopt or approve both the June and July treasurer's reports.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. One thing Russell did mention in his email was the apparent donation from Amara that, as it turned out, it actually was meant to go to the Summit Water for their bill. And so Russell's in the process of getting them a refund check right now. It was an odd amount. It's like $140.21 or something like that. Okay. Orange Gate Park, Larry has done 18 hours in July for volunteer hours.
Now, there was nobody else that contacted me that indicated that they had done any volunteer work in Orange Gate for the month of July.
And then county trail activities. Today I was out with a Washington Trails Association crew working on a section of trail in what's going to be the horse area eventually. And the county has us out there for 3 days this week, 3 days the end of the month. There was a Washington Conservation Corps crew out doing some work, including doing some work with the chainsaw. And I got a chance to talk with Tiffany before our crew went in to start working. She showed up to welcome everybody and talk a little bit about what's going on. And I spoke with her afterwards. She said that by this Friday, their final plan should be up on the web as far as what they're going to do with the property. She also said that about 600 or over 600 people responded with feedback on the original proposal. There will be an open dog park, Don. It won't be full of bushes, so whatever they're going to do, it will be open. Part of that north parcel, north of 80th, will be with trails, but that's kind of an end piece. What we were doing today was working on a section of trail that's going to be primarily horsemen, widening it so that it's safer. You've got better sight lines, clearing out so that they're not, hitting their faces and branches. And what's really more important is doing a little bit of rerouting. So rather than going down where water is collecting and creating mud and such as people go through, rerouting up onto higher ground, providing an opportunity for water to stay off the trail, getting organic material off the trail so that, again, we're trying to prevent, a muddy trail that people would be using. So there's some reroutes like that they're going in on. They do have a plan for where they want trails, how they want them to go. And so part of this is working on getting those set up and also decommissioning many of the, what we call social trails that just kind of meander all over the place and don't really lead you to anywhere. So that's where the county is. Again, it should be out by Friday. Tiffany said that she'd be more than happy to come meet with us at our next meeting and answer any questions that we have. So that's where we are with that. The one thing I was kind of curious about was if anybody, other than, again, getting the dog park designed correctly, if there are any kind of advocacy priorities that we might have at this point. Although, now that they have what they consider a final plan, I'm not sure what would even be changed at this point. Or we can wait until Friday and see what comes out and decide what we want to do, I guess.
I have just one general comment. I was in the park about 3 weeks ago, and I no sooner got walking towards the pipeline trail going up the hill, and I was surrounded by 4 to 6 dogs off leash.
Oh, geez.
And, right now, I really don't care what they do until they get someone to do enforcement. If they're not going to have it, I don't see what the enjoyment it is for the general population.
Was that somebody out there with dogs or just loose dogs roaming?
No, people walking with dogs,
okay.
and men, women, they didn't care. I said something. I says, hey, your dog is charging at me. I'm going to spray it. And they said, go ahead if you got to do it. He was ready to make a physical encounter, I thought. And I said, Pearl, let's get the hell out of here. And we haven't been back. And until I find out what the park is going to do for security, safety, health and well-being, they can fold it up. They can sell it for all I care.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah,
something.
there are times when I kind of get to feeling like what Don just pointed out. You get to a point where you say humans are pigs. There's so much garbage out there. It takes me 2 hours every time I go out. Today it was 2.5 hours walking trails. North of 84th, there's about 5 places that I checked because they're places where individuals have sexual relations. And I noticed today that I encountered while I was walking through that meadow on the north side of 84th, I encountered 2 sets of adult males together. And when I watch people park on the south side of 84th, near where that blue sign is, and there's a trailhead into the meadow area, it's always a single male that gets out and goes across the street and into the meadow area. And there's 2 or 3 trails. There's one that I talked with Bob about. It's kind of a semi-dead end place. It goes back in there, parallels 84th Street, and it ends in a nice little shaded area. And I always find condoms, condom wrappers, clothing items, cigarette butts. That's the number one thing I find in the park.
Hey, Larry, I'm taking notes on this to pass back to Councilmember Campbell. Larry and Don, is this Orange Gate Park
Yes.
that you're talking about? Okay, and that's both with the
Yes.
off-leash dogs and with the sexual encounters.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm 99% sure it's gay males that
Okay.
that are involved here.
So my only comment would be that Don probably needs to threaten to spray the owner, not the dog. And then Larry, you probably help them make it not illegal by actually getting a camera and going in and filming. Because if it's filming, it's pornography. So it kind of does double duty for evidence and also making it illegal activity. Just saying.
Yeah, or try to block off these trails with debris.
And that's one thing later on, I'm going to go in with Larry. He can show me where, and we can consider some possibilities for how we could block off those areas, how to get rid of that trail. So we'll see.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many cigarette butts I pick up in the woods. It's amazing.
And this time of year, that's not good.
No, really, you're absolutely right. Oh, the Jeep that was parked near 50th on 84th Street on the north side. People were complaining about this Jeep. I was on nextdoor.com this afternoon when I was up in that area. The Jeep is now gone. Now, I did have a conversation with the guy, and he, of course, said that his Jeep was broken down and he didn't have any money to fix it. And I said, well, people are starting to complain about you being here, especially you can't park here overnight. There's no water here. There's no restroom facilities. So you're going to need to find some way to get this Jeep up and running. And because I was not sure he was actually broken down, but and so there was some activity with people around his vehicle this weekend, and today it was gone. So that's a good thing.
Okay, good. Okay, moving on. The parcel that's down at at the corner of Canyon and 512 that's been proposed as a repair shop. Something I discovered in the notes from the meeting with the county planning department is that there's a possibility of a rezone for that area. I was kind of hoping Dan might be here, into a mixed use so that they could then use it for what they want. It still wouldn't be allowed to have an entrance off of Canyon, but we have some potential for encroachment. So I guess we can continue to watch that. And then Angela, you'd mentioned storage repair contractor yard potential on 84th. I guess that's over by Waller Road. And I took a look at that. Now, Dan had said to me that there's not much that he could do because it's not a significant change from what it is now. Do you know anything about what might be done, what we might do?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention because I figured we'd probably field a few phone calls, particularly I have two relatives that live on 32nd Avenue, which butts up against this property. So I imagine I was going to field a few phone calls. But it looks as though the current owner, so that's the Summit RV repair place, which is on 84th. And it is in the process of being sold. And just recently, as May of this year, the current owner looks as though he asked Pierce County planning staff to reevaluate the non-conforming rights that were established by an appeal in 1991, I think. And the Pierce County staff did find that Summit RV repair does have non-conforming rights established by an appeal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm guessing he did that because he is wanting to sell and they wanted that to be filed with the county so the new owner could lien on that. All I know is it's, quote, a trucking company that's buying it. So what that, I'm guessing it's going to be storage and or repair, very similar to the use that you see today. Instead of RVs, it'll be trucks and truck trailers. So what the extent of that is, I don't know, but I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, knowing that we might have a few phone calls from some folks. So
Okay, thank you.
I got a question going back to the parcel on Canyon Road there at the off ramp.
Yeah,
They're running a U-Haul rental business out of it currently. Are they supposed to have a permit in hand to do that? Angela, do you know, have you noticed that?
I don't know the
I would
answer to
verify that. There are U-Haul vehicles there.
but whether or not they need to have a permit for that is what we need to look at, what they're allowed to do on that property right now.
And just so you know, the owner of 10615 Canyon Road is also the new owner of the property right next door at 10605 Canyon Road. So I think instead of doing the entrance and exit off of Canyon, they're now going to come off 106th Street. So that'll get around them or alleviate the problem and the fight with the county and WashDOT about Canyon Road access. So
Would that be the Buffalo Ships building and
Yep.
all that?
Yeah. Well, they're coming right in front, but between the front of the building and the street.
right. But it's not on Canyon, which was and with the existing residential driveway. So
Correct.
let's see if they've got any other. I'm just looking to see if they have any permits for what they're doing currently. And it doesn't look like it.
Well, Angela's checking that out. This is the only comment on that second one down Canyon or 84th and Canyon. I can see a lot more of this type of stuff going in and being set up on Canyon as they make improvements, because it's going to be a major lane coming through once they get that project completed.
Let's say once they widen the roadway. I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it an improvement, but
Yeah. I mean, you have the new Amazon warehouse down there at Military and Canyon as well.
yeah, we were by there last week and it was one of those, that's a shock. That went up quick.
It did, yeah.
You ought to see the one that went up next to I-90, just west of Spokane. And then now they're putting another huge one out in the Spokane Valley.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone up really quick.
Okay.
Some information about the RV repair thing on 84th Street near Waller Road. That property butts up against a storage yard whose entrance is off of Waller Road. And then there's a residence on the corner there. A guy by the name of Lauren Wamby, and I think his mother lived there. I believe that's been sold to the person who owns the storage yard just to the north of the house.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I guess Lauren's mother, and Lauren can live there as long as she's alive, but once she passes away, then Lauren will have to find other place to live.
Okay. So do we have any more on the A4th location or the other yard, or can we move on?
I don't see any current permits for the Canyon Road property. It's currently zoned community center and they're proposing to go to multiple use. So,
Mhm.
sorry,
Okay.
multi-use.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So,
A quick
Thank you.
comment to Chelsea. The enforcement of the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. parking around Orange Gate, I'm not sure that sheriff's deputies are doing a very good job of enforcing that. Don Brunson, the neighborhood watch guy who's out sometimes patrolling, has seen sheriff deputies go by after 10 p.m. There are people still parked there, and you know, they don't have their sirens on or anything. They're just kind of driving by, and you think that they would stop and just tell people to move on.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I've marked it down and I will be sure to pass that along.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So we got a few more minutes until our other guest, Mike Poteet's going to be showing up. So I just want to make sure that Chelsea, did you have something that you were going to share? I know that you were invited by Larry.
Yes.
Okay.
I have, sorry, I have dogs barking in the background. I just have a couple of updates first for those of, I might look familiar because the reason why you got that bill or that donation from Amara is because I used to work at Amara before this. So they're trying to figure out all of their bills. So that's funny to hear that they sent it over to you on accident instead of Summit Water. But my name is Chelsea and I used to work for Amara, but now I am Councilmember Marty Campbell's assistant. I am week 7 on the job. So really excited to get to be in the room with all the familiar faces. And I'm sure that my last name looks familiar. Yes, Rick Talbert is my dad. Don't hold it against me. I'm way nicer than him. So, so I just wanted to share a couple of updates with you all. One, Angela has sent over the 8 utility box wraps to the office, and just kudos to this group for putting all of that together. So we've shared it with all of the people who are supposed to get that information. I'm still learning all of that process. And so we have 2 potential paths forward for that. The first is that we can have, so any of the ones in Parkland, we're going to hold off on doing because those will be specifically designated. Once there's a Parkland Business District, they'll be branded for the Parkland Business District. So what we can do to get some of those utility boxes done now in the next like year is have folks submit art to the Arts Commission, and that's eligible for any of the utility box wraps in the community all throughout Pierce County. And so I've learned there hasn't been a super robust effort with doing that outreach and getting people to submit designs, which means that we also have the opportunity to stack the Arts Commission with a ton of different arts from artists and designs from our community. And we're working with Betty to make sure that any of the art, she can't guarantee it yet, but we're working on it. Any of the artists that submit art from District 5 or from Summit Waller, that art is specifically in the utility boxes in our community. Because how cool is it to get to do, you know, put your heart into something and design it, and then to get to walk past it every day. So we can work on that, and I can share some more information because this is all like still developing. And then our other path too is that if there are a couple of really anchor, and those are like paid for through the county, our other path forward is we have District 5 specific funds. So if there are a couple of utility boxes where we're like, we want this specific branding, this is an anchor to our community, we wanted to have it designed this specific way, we can also do that. It takes a little bit longer, and it would come out of our District 5 budget, which is like totally fine because that's what the money's here for. Archie. And so we're good. So if y'all want to take a look at that list and point out if there, and it's totally fine if all of them were like, hey, let's get it done this year. But if there's a couple of them that you're really like, this is great, like we need to get our branding on this, let me know and I'll hold off on it and we'll get it done in a couple of years with that specific design. Tallulah. So that's the utility box wrap update. It's kind of late. Was that coherent? Did that make sense? Okay,
Yes.
Great. And then a couple of other updates that I have for you. So on 72nd and Canyon, between Canyon and Pioneer, there's a new signal there for folks to slow down. And then they're also working on continued engineering investments to reduce all of the traffic accidents that happen. So Councilmember Campbell wanted to be sure to share that, and that we're really looking at traffic engineering, especially to reduce some of the fatalities. Also, we have several streetlights that were funded. I think there was a list of like, yeah, thanks, Angela. So, and I know, Larry, we're working on another one for you. I'm gonna just sprinkle one more in there, but have to celebrate victories where we have it. And I think the last update, and I'm happy to continue to take notes on anything else and pass it back to Councilmember Campbell. And always feel free to reach out whenever you have any issues or concerns that come up. But I'm sure that we're all aware of some of the changes that are happening with the legislature around law enforcement and policing. And so Councilmember Campbell has heard loud and clear all of the concerns, and that there's a ton of confusion and law enforcement doesn't feel like they have clarity. And, you know, we all deserve to have the responses that we need from law enforcement that are safe and appropriate. So police are able to police. And so actually at study session today, Councilmember Campbell is taking the lead on a letter to the legislature asking them to get clarity on some of the terms. So that way, you know, public safety is protected and police are able to have the information they need. And it's not like a wash the hands of the situation, like we can't do anything on it. So that way they're still able to call and respond to issues. And Councilmember Campbell also had a meeting with Sheriff Troyer and talked to them about some of the staffing issues that are happening. I think we're down 29 officers in the sheriff's department, which is a lot of the reason why, you know, we're not getting answers for the fireworks that are happening. And that's another note, also working on fireworks. We're working so hard on it. I know there's not a really great answer, but we got to protect the vets and the pets and the agriculture. So I know he's, you know, every week we talk about it, what's happening with fireworks. So, and also working to build the workforce with the sheriff's department. So that way we have people who can actually respond to these calls. Because as Larry pointed out, it is super frustrating to be able to pass a law and to be able to ticket people, and then it's not enforced. So we're just trying to hustle super hard on your behalf and get these things done. But we've been super busy, and I know Councilmember Campbell isn't able to be here tonight, but he's really looking forward to continuing to participate in these meetings, especially hopefully when we're like back in person. So that's all I have. That was a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Chelsea, if I can ask you a question. One of our board members, Jen Bosworth, is not able to be at our meeting tonight. And of course, you and I talked a little bit about a street light at the intersection of 48th Avenue and Waller Road, in the middle of that Waller Road curve. And would you share with the other board members what you told me about that? Because we're going to need a pole, a new pole, because the existing pole at that intersection has too many wires going everywhere, and Tacoma Power cannot put a street light there. They told us that a few years ago. So we keep asking for a street light there, and we're going to need to have a street light on a new pole, which I know is a separate issue. Could you explain what's going on with that?
Yes, so that was a great summary of it. Basically, yeah, they're because there's like a ton of wires or something, they weren't able to do something or other. I'm not sure of the specifics on it, but anyways, they need to have a new pole and a new light there. So Councilmember Campbell has requested a feasibility study on that and cost, which is the next step. And then once he has that, he can better advocate for it. What's really cool is that we actually use this as an example today of why it's important to have an equity index on all of the policies that we're passing, because it's really easy to say we can't have a street light here, it costs this much money, but when we're really able to measure it with that human impact, it's a lot easier to advocate and say, look at the safety, look at where streetlights traditionally are, look at the lack of infrastructure. This is why we must have the investments here. And so Councilmember Campbell sponsored that, and it passed today. So really excited to have more opportunities to better advocate for infrastructure, especially in places where traditionally been farthest away from the investments. So we're working on it.
Good.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one on these wraps for utility boxes. What utility owns the majority of these boxes?
Ooh, that's a great question. And I also love it because I know the answer to it. So we are super lucky because all of our boxes, utility boxes that are in the locations that Angela shared, they're all in Pierce County, which means we don't have to ask anybody permission. We can just do it.
Yay.
Oh, okay. Now, these are vinyl wraps like you'd see on the side of a building, a truck or a trailer? Is that correct?
To be honest, I am not 100% sure of what the material is that they use for it, but it's
Okay. Is there any kind of costs that have been determined on what it's going to cost to produce one or 10? Are they all going to be different? Who's going to install them? Who's going to maintain them? I'm quite familiar with vinyl wraps, and it's not kids' play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the good news is that is not one of my other duties as assigned. We hire people who are experts in it and who have experience doing it, who produce the high quality material. And that's one of the questions that we sent over with our locations. We sent the locations, we got approval that they're all owned by Pierce County. And then, so now we've been asked, hey, figure out which ones that we want to share with the Arts Commission and have that open to anybody who submits art to have the potential for it. And if there's any specific ones that are that we want to brand, that we want to hold off on, then they would let us know what the cost is and we could work with an artist for the design. So that comes a little bit later down the line, and I'm happy to report back once I have that information.
Yeah, that seems pretty high tech. My thought on it was before this vinyl stuff came out, what about offering the Franklin Pierce Arts District classes? Give them dozen cans of spray paint and be artistic in that sense. Why you're talking, thousands of dollars or more to wrap a bunch of utility boxes where, what would put a smile on my face is to see a bunch of art class students hand paint them and not increase our property taxes for I don't know what gain besides a feel good, oh, look, there's a painted box on the corner. Isn't that clever? That's where I'm coming from.
Mhm. Well, I will certainly check if that is a possibility. I feel like just because I've now gotten used to people telling me no a lot at the county, like trying to discover a path forward. And so I feel like there's probably going to be some kind of like liability or arts needing to be approved or color schemes or something. There's always a path forward though, Dawn, and I will definitely flag that and make sure to have an answer. But I do think this is a really great opportunity to get youth more involved in art, to really foster, that culture of creativity, to get students more involved. And so even though, spending money on a utility wrap isn't, I can see how it can be challenging to justify. It really is a cool way to show community pride, to engage youth, and to really just show what a beautiful community and creative community that we have. But I hear you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I
And
think
Dawn?
too, weren't the utility wraps already in the budget, Chelsea? It's not like we came up with this whole list asking for more money. It was already in the budget, right?
Yeah, I believe the Arts Commission has money in the budget for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the question that is on the table for the board here tonight is which one or two utility box locations do we absolutely want to reserve for, quote, Summit Waller branding? Is that correct?
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't have to be one or two if you were just like, we're fine with whatever. And it also doesn't need to be like specific Summit Waller branding. It can be anything that you really want it to be. So just if
Right.
there's one or
Sure.
two locations that feel really important to have something very specific on it, which is like the vaguest sentence I've ever said. So I'm sorry about that. That's our question for you.
Okay. Yeah, because we gave you a few with some ideas, but
Mm-hmm.
okay. And so when do you want us to get back to you with either these are one or two that we really feel strongly about, or we don't care, just do them all? When would you like us to get back to you on that?
That's a great question. So I asked Betty about the timeline that the Arts Commission is doing all of this, and I haven't heard back yet. So if it's okay, I'll circle back with you, Angela, and let you know as soon as I hear back.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Then
Awesome.
and then I'll make sure we can maybe do like an email poll or something outside of tonight's meeting, and we can get some info to you too. So
Gabe?
Yeah, the question I had for you, Chelsea, was actually for the board and Chelsea, but would this be a good opportunity to engage our Facebook group to maybe see about the artists that are out there, to have them submit? And if so, what information could we give them as far as the format that they would need to apply them in? Do they have to go out and start measuring the boxes, or will they just take what they were submitted and then somehow incorporate that into a wrap? So those
Oh my
type of
gosh.
things, yeah.
Gabe, you were just like quoting my exact email. So I'm waiting for all of that information, but I am so excited to empower people to submit art, and I will make sure that you have that so we can share it on Facebook. I love that idea of like using the socials.
Yeah,
I'd like to be able to highlight some certain areas and the people that are
Mm-hmm.
more impactful, like something tribal, maybe on the Waller Pioneers intersection. Something that would be more about the tribe. And that other area, maybe the equestrian, and maybe we do give Pierce County School our project for one of them. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but
And
And I
it's
have
great that sorry, I just want to add, what's really cool is, especially if like we go the route of encouraging artists to submit it to the Arts Commission, there are designs that are utilized throughout the county. So I just think it's so cool to think about having a local artist in our community here to be able to see that in Gig Harbor and Bonnie Lake, and to see that weave throughout, and just how connected that feels. So it's just a really cool opportunity.
So as far as Franklin Pierce School District, I have contacted the school district and provided my contact information, explained what we were trying to do, and they passed it along to the high school art teachers, but I have yet to hear back from them. So it could be a summer break thing, or it could be lack of interest. I don't know. I can follow through on that. Okay, Larry?
Chelsea, I'm just wondering, proposal number R 2021-121, which is about the county neighborhoods program, that was up for final consideration today. How did that fare out?
I'll have to circle back with you on that because I think I was on the phone with a constituent. I feel like it passed.
Okay,
I'll have to confirm that though.
I know it's just in the concept stage and not going to be a part of the budget until at least the 22-23 biennial budget. So I was just wondering if that got off the ground or not.
I know there's been
today.
a lot of excitement around it, but I will double check it. It's been a busy day, so I will check and see what happened with that and send a follow-up email.
Okay.
Thank you. And I think we need to get moving here. Angela, could you introduce our next guest on The Price is Right?
Well, I didn't want to skip over the parking signage at
Oh.
Lidford Field.
Well, we can come back to that.
Okay.
I think rather, we can respect Mike's time and let him do his presentation, and then we can finish off the rest of the agenda.
Okay. Let's see. Mike is on. There's Mike. Hey, Mike. So Mike Poteet is our one and only. I call him, he's the farm guy at Pierce County. I'll have him introduce himself with his proper title. But they introduced a new tool for agriculture and like farm property owners and large rural property owners, some agricultural drainage support tool. And I happened to see a little an overview of the presentation that Mike gave to, was it council?
Yeah, it was the Economic and Infrastructure Development.
Thank you, the EIDC. Okay, and it was a really great presentation. First of all, kudos to the communication support folks and graphic artists who put that together. But I thought it would be helpful for Mike just to give us an overview of what the tool is, who it's for. Granted, we don't have a lot of farmers in Summit Waller, but we do have people that own large properties that sometimes are a pasture or they're forested, they might have some drainage issues, and this tool is for them. So I'll turn over to Mike to run us through, and I think Gabe, he would like to share his screen with a presentation.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Angela. Nice to meet you all. Like she said, my name is Mike Poteet. I'm with Pierce County Planning and Public Works. My title is I'm a senior planner, but I'm the coordinator for all things agricultural that come through the county doors. So I don't just work in permitting and policy stuff. I also work with the folks over in surface water management. I work with the Office of the County Engineer. I work with the parks people. I work with community members and the Conservation District and landowners from the Key Peninsula all the way out to Ashford and up onto the plateau. So I'm not region specific in any way. I am county-wide, and been with the county for a couple of years now. My background's in production agriculture. And one of the things that was on my list when I joined the county was to work on agricultural drainage. And there was this task force created by council in 2019, way back in 2019. And we started some work on it in late 2019 and early 2020, and then COVID hit and it delayed all of the work. And so it got pushed back about a year or so. And we just concluded it. It was made up of members from multiple regulatory bodies, the tribe, Fish and Wildlife, at the state level. There's about 15 or 20 people going to these meetings and coming up with recommendations. Anyway, one of the deliverables out of that task force was something that was called the decision support tool. And it was assigned to me to work on as county staff. And we started with the concept of agricultural drainage and very quickly realized that that only covers, a small sliver of all of the landowners in Pierce County. So we started to gear it more towards rural landowners and folks that might encounter a drainage problem, and what are some of their resources. So Angela asked me to put together a quick slide presentation to kind of walk you through why this is important and how you can share this with members of your community. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So I want to make sure that's out of the way, and feel free to interrupt me at any time. Okay, it's totally fine. Okay, next slide. Let's go to slideshow. All right. So do you see just the slides right now?
No, we see your notes slide.
I
Yeah,
figured that was going to happen.
yeah,
That's
Is that display
No.
setting? You have to switch to the other monitor.
yeah.
yeah. Gosh, why does it do things like that? Sorry, everybody.
That's fine.
It always
try.
happens that way.
I know. Let's try it again. Okay, now do you only see the slides?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we go. Come on, there we go. So one of the big issues with drainage is it's not just an on-site problem. That's one thing we want people to understand is sometimes it is just an on-site problem. Sometimes you have a compacted area or some little swale or something, but generally speaking, drainage happens in a network. And so we really want people thinking about the big picture when they're identifying a drainage problem. And that's where having groups like a community organization is so helpful, because it keeps people connected. It keeps everybody thinking about how it impacts their neighbors. Most farms and rural land is not in a drainage district in Pierce County. Summit Waller is fortunate that you do have a drainage district to cover at least part of your footprint. And Drainage District 14, this is a rough outline of where it is for your community. And I know the commissioners in that drainage district, they're very hands-on, they're very active. Your residents are lucky that they have an active drainage district. Some are not nearly as hands-on and helpful. And I'd also note that you have Drainage District 10 just to your northern boundary. And so some of the things that take place on like Swan Creek, Canyon Creek, Squally, some of those, Clear Creek, can impact the neighbors downstream in District 10. So that's the resolution. Don't worry about it. I kind of went over it already, but the reason I'm here is to talk about this support tool. And one thing before I get to the tool, right now we have the resources of myself at the county and all of the partnerships that we've created to address some of these problems. And usually whenever we have a drainage problem in a waterway, we need to bring in Fish and Wildlife to make sure that anything that's done is done within a fish window or gets a hydraulic project approval, an HPA permit from Fish and Wildlife. Sometimes we need to work with other agencies, and the tribe can also be a partner in this. The way things work is we can go out and meet with a landowner and figure out what the problem is, but we have a difficult time, as I mentioned earlier, getting into the rest of the system. So we can figure out if there's a root cause somewhere else, either upstream or downstream. And I'm using that term loosely. I don't literally mean upstream. And so what we'd like to do is make sure that residents can help us help them. And so that's what this support tool is really about, is this process right here is much smoother and much easier to do if people can do some of the things that the support tool walks them through. So part of this was trying to create a decision support tool that walks people through. I kind of think of it as like a choose your own adventure storybook, if you remember those from when you were kids. it becomes really complicated really quickly as you think through how many different things can go wrong in a drainage system on a piece of land. So instead of trying to create all these if-then scenarios that really complicated things, we decided to create a landing page on the farm programs web page for the county. And we've set up this new drainage page with some very high level background information on some of the common causes of drainage issues. And from that page, people can then go on and use this support tool. And so I'm going to walk you through each of the pages of it, and we're not going to go into a lot of depth. I just want you to see what's on here. So there's an introduction page that just kind of breaks down, hey, we're going to ask some questions. We don't need anything super in depth, but this is kind of an interactive tool, but the interaction doesn't really take place until after you use it. And then the interaction can be more powerful. Obviously, there are situations where if people are dealing with emergencies, we don't want them sitting around trying to figure out how to use this tool. We want them to take emergency actions. And there are things that can be done on certain drainage systems where if it is an emergency and people need to take action immediately, we can allow those actions without penalizing a landowner. And I think that's an important piece of this. So then we asked the user to take some observations. And this is really basic stuff, but if people are familiar with their properties, they're going to know these answers kind of off the top of their head. If the flooding of something is being caused by certain overflows, they can give an answer. Can it be removed safely? And then and I cut the screen off here, but there's a whole series of questions here that people can just jot down some notes. We need that information when the activity is taking place, when the problem is there, because generally what's going to happen is the problem is going to be there, and by the time anybody can get out to look at it, it's just going to be the aftermath. And so we really want to know what's happening real time, and that is a really critical part of the problem solving, is to know what actually happened. And so this kind of walks people through how to gather some of that information. We don't necessarily expect people to know the causes. However, if they can check the causes, that's going to be helpful for us by the end of the tool. And so these are the same 5 causes that were shown on the homepage, and it links back. If people are like, oh, wait a minute, what were those things? They can go back and read a little bit about each of those. And they can select more than one. And I don't know is also a fine answer. Location is important. If somebody is in unincorporated Pierce County, I am their first point of contact for something like this. If they live in a city or town, we don't want them talking to us at Public Works. We want them talking to their own community's Public Works. So we've got links for all of that stuff. And if you're in a drainage district, we want you to work with your drainage district first, because the drainage district, if they need to take certain actions that are under regulatory guidelines, they will come to the county and work with us. But we want them to represent and provide the services that they are there to provide. So we don't want to intervene in something that is best handled by something closer to the community. So once that is answered, if it's still unincorporated Pierce County, if they pick a drainage district, we've got ways for them to contact their commissioners for all the different districts around the county. So I wanted to include that in this session since you have one in your community. So then they have the option to submit. They can go through our online request for action form, which is through Public Works. But if it's not necessarily a pressing problem and they just want to try to get some sort of long-term solution, they can submit their very limited answers that we've asked them to check or tick the boxes, and they can submit it to us, and it will come directly into my email, and I'll get back with somebody within 2 business days of getting a submission of this. And then they will get something sent back to them that we call our resources page. And when they finish, it will show here, but it will also get emailed to the user. And it goes through different organizations and very briefly describes some of the things that they can help people with. It gives a person who you can actually call and contact. That's always a big complaint people have for some of these other organizations. Now, things at ecology and contamination stuff, those are more general hotlines that will get answered, but I don't know who the answering person is going to be at any given time. Whereas these other organizations, we can get you in touch with a real person. And so using this, if they take the observations and they submit it and it comes to me, it knocks about 20 minutes off of the conversation. It just gets us so much further ahead in the process of trying to figure out what the problem really is. Being in a community and thinking about how drainage is impacted, off of your property in either direction, it's really important to maintain some sort of, friendly relations with neighbors. You don't have to be best friends, but to have an amicable relationship where you can approach a neighbor and say, hey, I'm having this drainage problem. I think it's connected into multiple properties and yours might be one of them. I want to get the county out. I want to look at this thing and see if we can figure out where this problem really comes from. Because I don't have to spend a lot of time on somebody's property. I also go back and look at maps, look at historical information, see how things have changed in the landscape, and we can start to troubleshoot some of these things. So it's really important to me that we serve as a resource to folks in the community. And one of the easiest ways for us to do that is to try to work as interactively as possible, ask people in the community to gather information when the issue is happening so that we can help answer those questions for them. And this is just a small fraction of my responsibilities at the county, but it's something that I really care quite a bit about because I know what it's like to have your property impacted to where you can't work it or you can't do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And so I think where we started with this was agricultural. At the request of folks in the agricultural community who recognize the need for their neighbors who aren't farms to have this same sort of engagement and involvement made us think a little bit bigger about what sorts of things could a landowner benefit from having access to. So that's what I have for you this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions about process or any of the rest of it that I can.
Yes, I have a question of Mike.
Yes, sir.
It's nice to know that we have a conservation district partly in the Summit Waller area. Is it my understanding that east of Vickery Avenue, there is no conservation district?
The conservation district is countywide. They provide services to all county residents. Are you talking about a drainage district?
He is.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Drainage district.
it's okay. Yeah, so the drainage district, I'm sorry, I pulled that down. Let me grab that and put it back up. I don't know the, yeah, so it's only west of Vickery between 80th and south of 512. And it goes across to, oh God, it's kind of an arbitrary border on the west edge, but it's approximately where 22nd is, and then it doglegs out further to the west.
So no drainage district east of Vickery.
That's correct, yes. And drainage districts are, they're basically special purpose districts. They are part of the state constitution. People are allowed to create them, but it's not an easy thing to do. And that there's a whole taxation that goes along with it. So all the people that live within that district, they pay as part of their property taxes a levy that goes to the district to support their work.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay.
Mike, would you be so kind as to put the link to the tool in the chat for us so we can put that in our
Certainly.
meeting minutes? And if you think it would be helpful, we could definitely post a link and a little blurb about that on our Facebook group and maybe our website as well as a tool. Maybe Gabe, we can put it in that list of resources for people if they have questions about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's the link to the drainage page, and on the drainage page, the very first thing at the top, there's an orange button and says drainage support tool. It's right there. I would like people to go to the landing page instead of directly to the,
Yeah.
the tool. So,
Understood. Awesome.
but
Yeah.
yes, by all means, share it far and wide. This was a council sponsored project, but it's up and it's available for use. We haven't started the publicity tour. For the drainage.
Is this part of the soft? Is this the soft launch?
Soft launch, yes, soft launch. But it's been out there and we've had it troubleshot by lots of folks in the ag community. So we're pretty comfortable with how it works.
Awesome.
I'll just say real quick, I know you are busy. When I started this thing, it was such a mess. It was if then, through all these different kinds of scenarios that you can have. And the farms real quick said, Mike, just stop. Just stop trying to solve everything with this one tool. Like, there needs to be a little bit more back and forth. So that's why it is the way it is now.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
having me. I really appreciate it. And yes, feel free to share it. Have a great evening. And Angela will share any of my contact information if anybody wants it. And please do feel free to put any links that you would like to the ag page or to the drainage page into your newsletters. Okay.
All
Good
right.
night. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, and back to where we were, the Lidford Field parking signage.
Okay, I'll go ahead and kick that off. I got a private message. Well, I've seen this a couple different times on Facebook. There's some people that were complaining about overnight parking near Lidford Field.
Same thing on
So-
next door.
Oh yeah, it was on Nextdoor and on Facebook, I think. So,
Yeah.
and then people were, well, how do I petition the county for overnight parking signs? I'm like, well, if you just contact Summit Waller Community Association, we can help you. And so after saying that enough times, somebody finally did reach out. So long story short, there are some issues. It looks like it's specifically on 60th Street East. Let me look at my map really quick again. Yeah, 60th Street East, which is along the south side of Lidford Field between 41st Avenue and 44th Avenue. So I asked some questions. Well, really, how big of a deal is this? Is it just once in a while? Is it all the time? She said that, let's see. There seems to be a lot of drug deals or drug activity that are happening at the park, not just on 60th, but at the park. So they've seen kind of an increase in drug use. And of course, the enforcement has decreased, much as the story that we were talking about on Orange Gate and Chelsea was talking about with decreased patrols for sheriff's deputies. They're just kind of worried that this would lead to, because there are so many homes around the area, that it could, lead to other things like break-ins and car thefts and things like that. It looks like she said there's overnight parking or not necessarily overnight, but long-term parking, both in the parking lot at Lidford Field and on 60th. There are some residents that live near there that do use 60th, to park their cars on once in a while, but which she was careful that she didn't want to affect them. But long story short, they were concerned about it and were hoping that we could help them look into doing the no parking signs similar to what we put on Orange Gate. If that would be something
if
that
I
we
could-
could start that discussion with the county or council member Campbell.
The process for Orange Gate was in talking with, it was either Rick or Marty. To start off, it had to be an ordinance had to be passed
Mm-hmm.
with specific streets and sides of streets. So like
Mhm.
from on 60th Street East on the north side of the street from 41st Avenue to 44th Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
there should be signage there that says no parking, stopping or standing from 10 PM till 5 AM. And the same would be on 44th Avenue on the west side of the street.
Right.
From 60th Street East to, I'm not exactly sure what the boundary line would be to the north. To the edge of the park, to the northern park boundary, or yeah, the
Mhm.
northern park boundary. So if Chelsea would talk with Marty about putting together an ordinance requesting signage, implementing signage on in those areas. It's kind of like an L shape.
Yeah, there are absolutely no signs except for the firearm, basically firing off firearm is illegal. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on 60th, yeah, there's just one. Now I am seeing a note, like it says unauthorized vehicles will be towed, Emerald Towing, which is on the
The
telephone
gate,
pole.
right?
It's on the pole, well, according to this Google photo from 2018.
Yeah, it
which
hasn't
I don't-
changed.
If it's still there. It just says, it'd be towed by this specific company, but I don't see, there's no signs that say, no parking, no long-term parking, no overnight parking.
Yeah, the no parking, standing or stopping from 10 PM till 5 AM signage, if that were there, it would give residents there a tool when calling the sheriff's department,
Mm-hmm.
non-emergency number.
Right.
It's illegal to park there. So there's people parked there, they're illegal. I'm reporting that, would like a sheriff deputy to come by and move these people out.
On 60th Street, you can see where that porta potty is. Next to it, there's that tall sign. That's not there anymore. So there's no park rules or anything listed there unless they've added it in the last few months that I recall.
I think it was when they were working on the park. It's funny, in the Google Street View, there's a Marty Campbell for Pierce County Council District Number 5 in the.
Hey,
That's funny. Anyway.
hmm.
So is that a possibility, Chelsea?
It's on the list. Consider it done.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
just let us know, and then I can report back to you. There's a couple neighbors in particular that gave me their information that they'd be interested in knowing what happened. And then whatever does happen, we can always put it on our Facebook page too. So
Okay.
There are one or
great.
two neighbors across the street from the park at the very northern end that are absolutely using the parking lot as their own personal parking lot overnight. So they will be effective, just the FYI.
is that because they are just doing that out of convenience or lack of
I-
space?
Probably both. But yeah, there's at least two houses that they use that for sure.
Yeah, from the message that I got, it sounded like one individual in particular has a truck and trailer that they park along 60th, temporarily. And she's like, again, I don't want that to negatively impact him because he does live in the neighborhood, but
But yeah, they will get caught up in it for sure.
Yeah, but if the issue mostly is nefarious activity in the parking lot of the park and along 60th, then I think the signs might, it's a step. It's not going to solve the issue, but we can at least say we've done something. So
And it gives the residents a tool.
it does,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, anything more on the signage there? Anybody wants to share? Okay. So I think we're done with current business because we already talked about the utility box wraps. Dan isn't here under new business to give us any update on the Burlington Northern Santa Fe property and the trash dumping. What has come of that? I just had two other kind of general information things. I was taking a look at what commission seats are open for various commissions on the county, because there are many, especially like with the what used to be called the LUACs, that need seats filled. The County Planning Commission had a District 5 seat that is now, as of today, been filled by Kimber Starr. A little background, she's been a realtor, believe she still is. She's a co-founder and executive director of the Tahoma Community Land Trust. She's the chair of the, at least as far, I believe still, chair of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus of Pierce County. I was thinking, since she's really, as far as I can tell, pretty new still to District 5, because she used to be a PCO in Lakewood and she ran for Furcrest City Council in 2019. So I don't know how long she's been in District 5, but I was thinking possibly a few of us, like myself, Angela, Dan, possibly Larry, but try to set up a time over Zoom or however to try to educate her a little bit on the concerns of the rural separator when it comes to zoning issues and the county plan going forward, which I believe is still in the planning process. Has it actually been adopted?
Are you talking about the community plans?
Right.
Oh, I think they're supposed to be adopted in October, I think.
Okay. And the planning
Maybe.
commission at that point probably wouldn't have any more input on it, but
No.
anything going forward, like small zoning changes that might come before them,
Yeah.
we probably should educate her on the history of the area and where our concerns are and why we're concerned. So that's something to think about, what we might want to discuss with her, and we can talk about this later. And then also, something I noticed when I was looking at the resolution that approved putting in the lights in our area, there are some neighborhood areas that have things other than lights, traffic calming, and a variety of things. So that's something we might also want to take a look at, considering that we do have some roadways that are rather dangerous in our area that go beyond just street lighting. So there's something to think about. Does anybody have anything else for the good of the order?
Last meeting, there was a question on the compression brake signs for Canyon Road.
Oh, yeah.
I got an answer from Letitia Neal,
Mhm.
and they are in the works. I got a little bit of political talk in her email, but they are scheduled to be installed, and
Mhm.
that's as far as it went.
Okay. And something I forgot to mention up under the county trail activities, some of the feedback that was received is that obviously the horse owners aren't quite so happy with the plan. And there is activity with people with the county discussing the use of the park with the horse business to the south, because county does recognize that it has been using county facilities for free as part of their business.
Mhm.
And so they're looking at changing that status. So we'll see what comes of that.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the High Point Equestrian Center has a direct gate, a chute and a gate right into Orange Gate. And they advertise in their, on their website, access to Orange Gate Park.
Well, I would like to make sure that Chelsea understands that point, that Orange Gate Park is a revenue producing facility for High Point Equestrian. And I've got, you and I pay a fee for the privilege of using the park when we want, on a leash. If you take your dog to Orange Gate Park or any county park for that matter, horses get free rein. The other thing about county code is horses are not exempt from picking up their droppings, but yet there's no signage that says to, county code needs to be changed in a whole bunch of places to bring it up to date. You know, well, why is a horse that tears up the trails not, they don't contribute anything. We do, and I think there's an inequity in that being.
Thank you for that background information. I have marked that down as something to follow up with Councilmember Campbell about.
Thank you.
Just to let you know, I have talked with Pierce County Parks and Recreation people about installing dog poop sacks and maybe a couple of garbage cans to put them in the past, but that hasn't gone anywhere.
Well, you can get a dog waste station for free. They were doing that a while ago, but I didn't get any hard yeses from the board. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
The county will do that, or
Well, this was like 2 years ago now. They had dog waste station, like the little baggies that they would put in, but someone obviously needs to fill it up when it's empty.
Yeah.
The county will not do that for us. They will provide the station, but they don't have the resources to go out and provide dog poop bags for every park. So,
Yeah.
so if we want that, but I think that'll probably come with the next phase of improvements.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, I mean, we can just wait another year and there'll be one or two. So,
They haven't been lived for.
Pearl can't wait that long.
yeah.
Well,
You should
what
bring your
Don-
own poop bag, Dawn.
Oh, I carry pockets full of them and I pick up others besides hers too. So,
I'm picking up dog poop bags every time I go out as well.
Yeah.
Oh, tell you what, there's worse on the side of the road going down the hill on 72nd. There's human material in
Yeah.
bags.
What Don, I think what Don was trying to say is that you have to buy a dog license to have
Yeah.
the dog, so you're actually paying a fee to go onto a Pierce County park, whereas a horse doesn't have to have a license to go on a Pierce County park. I have talked with some horse owners. They tell me that they do clear trails, that they prune back branches that come out onto the trail. You know, you're up on a horse and you're higher than a person who's just walking. So they do some trimming. Dawn is correct. They do not pick up their horse manure. And when I talk to people about that, they say, well, horse manure is not toxic. Cow manure is toxic. Horse manure is not toxic. So don't worry about it.
Well, that's
Well-
what horse manure.
It might
Yeah.
not be toxic, but it is organic material, and it creates a muddy environment on the trail when all you want is non-organic material.
It also
Yeah,
introduces non-native material, plant matter to the area.
Yes, because they do distribute seeds.
Mhm.
And also the trailblazing is fine, but they're not necessarily blazing the trails and clearing the trails for trails that make sense in the park. So sure, they're doing these things, which is nice and feels good at the time. It's only because that's what they want to do for their own stuff.
Yes.
To a large degree, people who use Orange Gate Park, walking their dogs or horses or whatever, it is for the most part park user maintained or volunteers. And I just ran across a lady today who was picking up some garbage along a trail, and so I just incorporated it with my bag of garbage, and she's picked up garbage before. So it's nice to see that there are other people out there walking their dogs and picking up garbage.
Okay. Last call for anything else. Okay, well, thank you, Chelsea, for joining us tonight. And
Thanks.
say hello to Marty.
Yep.
I will. Thanks for allowing me to join you, and I look forward to future meetings. Thanks for taking it easy on me too.
I don't know. We gave you a lot of homework.
I do have a lot of homework. Yeah.
Chelsea, I have a real quick question.
Yes.
When should we, not saying that we have any more darkened intersections, is there, when would we want to request a few more possible streetlights somewhere?
So when I sent over the most recent one that we talked about on the S curve, they told me they'll work on it, but they have to spend a lot of time with their current workload, incorporating it into that. So it sounds like it's a pretty husky workload right now. So I would say, maybe keep track of them, and we can touch base in a couple of months and keep up building the list of investments that we can make. But it sounds like it's probably going to take a little bit of time just to get the feasibility for that one is what my understanding is. But of course, it's always great to have it in mind. And, you never know when the opportunity is going to hit to move on it.
So if we have some, I know that it takes a while for all that to get set up, and that's fine. So early in 2022, then to submit a new list?
Yeah, I would say that, and then we can figure out, I can work with Councilmember Campbell to figure out the best timing to start working on that. I can also ask him when he would like it, and if he's thinking we don't want to look at this again for another year because we just have this huge list of investments, I'll touch base with him on that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because Mark Williams would remind me that I should get a list in to him. And then I would go driving around and see where I think some streetlights might be appropriate. And then submit a list. So if you could get back with me as to when would be an appropriate time to submit a brand new list for 2022, just let me know.
Okay, I will do that.
Larry, as long as those lights are consistent with the feel of a rural separator. I don't want this to turn into downtown Puyallup with a bunch of streetlights. I echo Dan's.
That's Dan right there.
That's
Yeah.
Dan right there. And also Bob's idea of
that's-
other ideas for traffic calming would be great. But traffic, yes, streetlights, I don't want to see a whole bunch of streetlights everywhere.
Yeah, right now, I can't think of any other streetlight locations, but we might get somebody who might propose, somebody other than our board might propose a streetlight location.
I think it's good to just have them on hand because we never know when things are going to come up or investments in road infrastructure, and we can plug that. So I'll check with Marty when it would be the most opportune to have it. But my gut kind of tells me if you're compiling a list and want to share it, it's good for us to have it on hand, especially since we know, it's not going to happen immediately.
Right, okay.
But like not looking like downtown Puyallup, like Gabe said.
I know a traffic calming strategy that's been proposed to me on a certain street was a speed bumps, but I don't think you're gonna find speed bumps in unincorporated Pierce County.
They're not allowed on arterials.
No. However, we do have roundabouts.
I don't know if I could go back to Marty sharing that we want more poop bags and speed bumps, because I've been asking for a bunch of them and he's gonna think I'm just doing it for my behalf.
Oh, gosh, Facebook and next door would be a light for months with a roundabout introduction anywhere.
Oh, I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion.
A motion to go home.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Again, thank you, Chelsea, for joining us, and good night, all.
Good night.
And I
Right.
thank
Thank you,
you
Chelsea.
guys.
Right.